Oh, am I supposed to start talking? I need to know how many 12-inch eclipse blocks we have in stock and how many molds we have. I think that's
I don't know.
I like that.
You like that?
Yeah.
I think flush with the headboard would be good. And like,
Okay. So there's enough space underneath.
Functionally wise, you're sitting here.
Yeah, like
your cell phone, light,
Yeah.
whatever.
Definitely.
it's really common to see your nightstands flush with the top of your mattress anyway. Dude, there is actually a mustache wax that I think is better than everyone else's, but the way that they store it is awful. I've been getting a lot of questions. People are saying, I've been woodworking for a while now, but I'm having a really hard time finding clients. What should I do? So I thought I would just try to answer this the best I can for everyone, since it's such a common question. And it's a hard question to answer, but this is my best advice. When I got started out doing this, I didn't have clients either, obviously, and there's not a great straightforward answer to how you acquire them. You don't just go out and get them and people trust you. You have to build a name up for yourself. And the best way to do that is just with a portfolio. So when I got started, I was working a full-time job, 40, 50 hours a week. And then on nights and weekends, I was designing my own furniture and I was building it for no one. I was testing out designs, I was testing out joinery methods, and I was learning the craft. So some of the most important things and the most impactful things that I did to get clients was I would build these things. I worked on my chair for 2 years before it was done. When I finished that chair, the first 3 or 4, I just gave them away. I didn't put them in my house, I didn't keep them, I didn't try to sell them. I found people that I look up to, people that I think are really influential here in the city. I made an introduction and I gave it to them as a gift. And that was the start of a relationship that became a lot of my work later on. That is something that is hard to do, especially if you don't have a full-time job. So I would encourage you to keep a full-time job, work out what your design aesthetic is, build some pieces, find the people in your city that you look up to or you'd like to work with, or somebody who's done something that's meaningful to you or that you respect. Introduce yourself to that person, give them a gift. An example of that is I gave 2 of the chairs to a local coffee shop that I love. It's my favorite shop. It took a while, but 3 or 4 years later, he opened up a new coffee shop, because we had that relationship started, that initiated it, and I was able to do all of the custom work for him and that was a huge chunk of the money that we did this past year was from that job. A relationship that I planted a seed several years prior. It is now growing into something that is a client that's going to continue. He's already talking about the next coffee shop he opens using me again for that. That's just one example, but there are many more of those relationships. You have to earn them. You can't just go out and say, hey, I'm William Douglas, I want to build your stuff for you, just trust me, I know what I'm doing. Nobody's gonna believe you. You have to prove yourself, you have to put yourself out there, you have to be a bit vulnerable, and you have to sacrifice a little. And because of that, keep the day job. Keep the day job until you're ready. I kept my day job until I had like 4 months of work lined up. Once I had 4 months of work lined up, I quit my job, I hired somebody and we tackled it, and I was really aggressive on what we're gonna do in the future. So another thing we should talk about is what you shouldn't do to try to get work when you're getting started. Some people like to lower their prices to an unfair amount of compensation for the average woodworker to get your portfolio started and to get going. I don't think that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. I think that there should be a barrier of entry. There should be a threshold of pricing in which we start, and we honor that, because what happens is if we have our barrier of entry $65 to $85 an hour, and then we have the person that's getting started out wanting to come in and he wants to try to make a name for himself, so he starts doing things at $40 an hour. What happens is that guy's going to get work, but you lessen the value of our craft. All of a sudden, our craft is not valued as it should be in the eyes of the consumer, and it just makes people who are actually doing this for a living, it makes it a lot harder for us. $85 an hour, in my opinion, is like bottom of the bar. That should be it shouldn't go lower than that. So instead of lowering your price and trying to get work that way, be respectful to the craft and just work on things and either try to sell them or, as I said before, give them away to somebody who you can build a relationship with. And that's the most organic, honest way to make a name for yourself in woodworking. In my opinion, I would highly discourage lowering your value. You should never lower your value, because if you really love what you do and this is important to you and you take it serious and you're actually putting out quality heirloom furniture, you should be getting paid for quality heirloom furniture. Like I always say, I would rather give something away than to have somebody pay me half of what it's worth, because I know that I'm worth more than that. So build a relationship with it instead. Honor the craft. Don't devalue what we do, and don't make it impossible for other woodworkers to make a living out of this. Charge a fair amount and build relationships. It's the most important thing. Another question that I get a lot is, what is my process for dealing with new clients? Or what's the process I go about using when I'm bidding a job or something? We've already done a pricing video, so I won't go over that. When I'm working with a new client, it's important for me that anybody I work with knows how to use some sort of CAD. We use SketchUp a lot. We've also used Fusion 360. Those are both free programs that you guys can get. But if I'm working with a new client that I haven't worked with before, I want to wow that client. I want them to see my proposal, my drawing, and be like, nobody has ever done this for me. That gives you kind of an edge. And I usually only do that once. I do it once, and if nothing comes from it, I won't do it again for that client. If something comes from it and I've begun to build this relationship with them, then I'll do it every time. But what I like to do is I start with a hand sketch of whatever it is that they're looking for, and then I go from there. Instead of presenting that hand sketch, I go into SketchUp and I make a 3D rendering of it, and I actually do a full animation where I revolve around that, whatever that is, we call it a dining table and chairs, and I show them things like the joinery. I show them how it's going to fit with chairs. Then I send that to them. And from there, if we have a good agreement, if they love that, if they like that, then from there I'll go on to bid it. I won't waste my time bidding a job before I know that they even like it. That's a good way to waste your time. So don't do that. I start with a sketch. I go into a rendering. Like I said, I only do this once for them unless they become a client. Then I'll keep doing it for them. But if they say no and they want me to do it for them again on another job, I won't do it for them again. It'll just be like, it'll be about this much, let me know. And those are usually the relationships that you're probably too high, you're probably too expensive for their budget. So that's the best way that I've found to kind of weed those customers out. When you present them with something that is like a 3D rendering with an animation, and it's clearly something that you spent a lot of time on, and they still don't use you, those are the customers that are probably never going to use you. So don't waste too much time with them. Do it once and do it well, and kind of just show like, this is the level of attention to detail you're going to get from us. This is the level of competency you're going to get from us, and you're going to get nothing but the best from us. That's kind of the feel that you need to have right off the bat. Once you send them that drawing, the CAD file, whatever it is, if they want to make some tweaks, that's okay. Make a few tweaks for them, and from there they're like, okay, I love this. That's when I'll start. Okay, I'll give you a price now. Because if you show them a rendering and they're like, that's not at all what I want, can we go in a completely different direction? I could have spent a good amount of time figuring out what everything is going to cost, and then that was all for nothing. So save that time, focus that time more on just putting things into CAD for them, putting things into a rendering for them, and then after that, then you can focus on, okay, this is your price. Another thing that I like to do is, if I'm working with a designer, I'll give them a 10% discount on my labor, because it's kind of just something that you do for the trade. If you want designers to work with you, they're going to bring you a lot of work, so they should get a discount. So, and that's just my opinion. You don't have to do that. Furthermore, if I get a referral from somebody and that turns into a job, I like to cut them a 10% check for the referral. This keeps loyalty coming in. This keeps people wanting to recommend you and talk about you. Those are some important tactics that I like to use to get work coming in, because I don't get a lot of work from social media. I put a lot of time into social media, but I don't get a lot of work from it. I get work from word of mouth. I get repeat work because all of my customers become friends. I have not had one customer that has had a bad experience with us, because I will always make it right if there is anything wrong. They trust me, all of that stuff. So that's what's most important to us. And that's, I think, how you can build a solid reputation for yourself and really go far with your business.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Billy.
Welcome to Wood Perfect.
No way! Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, no way! Oh no! It was a bank! It was a bank! It was a bank!
Yeah, I poured footers in the ground and I welded all the steel myself. I was actually nervous for the first like week or so. And then
How
after,
would you even do a strength test though?
well, this is 1,000 pounds and I had like 6 people up here with me.
Jesus. Alright, man. Yeah, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, man.
We want to give a special thank you to our patrons, Elaine, Ben Brown, Catherine Marr, for their Tier 1 contributions to our patron. And thank you so much to our Tier 3 patron, I Love Tacos, for the $25 bomb. Thank you guys so much for the support. Your contributions will feed a starving woodworker.